Let's make some dusty blue icing. I have my little paint chips out. I want to get it somewhere between that one and I'm looking at these other colors. And one of these was just, it was too light, this one. So I decided just to put that aside. I think the dusty blue, I'm thinking of like a cornflower blue. This is called Dutch tile blue, so that's probably Delft. I think, that might be a little too blue, but yeah, I want to get it somewhere in this gray area. This one over on the right might be a little too green, but somewhere in this area right here. So let's try to get that. And I'm starting out with some white icing. Now I made this icing thicker than I needed to. So I'm going to start with sky blue because I figured, if I'm adding color to it and I'm stirring it, it is going to get warm and it's going to get softer as I'm stirring it. So you do have to take that into account. So, don't make your icing too soft to begin with. Make it a little stiffer if you're going to be manipulating it a lot because it will soften up and it's going to be hard to use if it gets too soft. And it does change the consistency when you get icing warm. And I did a different video with the warming method in the microwave. I don't like that method because it's very unpredictable and you can end up cooking the sugar. But anyway, we're starting out with Americolor Sky Blue just as the base. Now this is going to be way too blue. It's way too bright. I realize that. What I'm going to do is take 3 dishes. These are little souffle dishes. These are so handy. Go get yourself a set of these. I'll put the link in the description. And I'm putting some blue of the basic color in each one. And I'm going to add black to the first one. Now I've got black, brown, and a different color that's a little weird, but we're going to see that at the end because it is a complementary color. But anyway, we're going to start with a little black because when you're doing a pastel or a dusty color, it's basically toning down the color that you have as bright as it is. And black has all the colors in it. It's going to gray it out a little bit. I did use a toothpick with a little bit of the black color on it so that I'm not doing a whole drop. So see how that has made it a little bit darker. You can see compared to the one on the right, it's a little bit darker, but I do want to take it down a little bit more. And so I added a little more black. Now, like I said, I'm using a toothpick because I don't want to just drop it in. I want to control how much color I'm putting in there because black is a pretty strong color. It has all the colors in it, and you can really mess yourself up if you're not careful and you add too much. So a little more, I guess. I'm just going for those colors that were on those paint cards, and I'm trying to get as close to those, kind of in between those as possible. But you see the black really does take down the bright blue, and you can, by comparing the ones on the left and the right, those are the original colors. So this actually gives me a pretty good dusty blue. I like this color. It's not too green. And sometimes you do run that risk if you're putting colors in. I'm sorry, I'm holding this down below the camera. It's hard to do, But anyway, this is the color that it comes out. And if you're going to use black, you can do this bit by bit. Just add it in the mixing bowl. Always make more icing than you need. All right, this one is warm brown. This is the Americolor warm brown. Now I've seen people do this with the warm brown, which is why I just threw that cap across. Which is why I decided to try it. Now, warm brown has a lot of yellow in it, so I wasn't sure how this was going to work, so I started off with a very small amount, and it should tone it down, but because the brown has a lot of yellow and other colors like reds, it's kind of an orange shade, but on the color wheel, blue is across from orange, so when you combine the two of them, it does mute it. It makes it muted, it makes it less bright, and you see I have edited some mixing out here because you don't need to watch me mix it, but it does actually bring it down a lot. And you have to make sure that you're scraping the bowl because you can see that there's not a whole lot of mixing going on there. And this icing really was very stiff. So make sure that you're mixing everything and you're incorporating everything so you don't get streaks of color in the final icing. But this brown is making it look a little greener, which is fine. It's not as green as it could be because the brown has yellow, red, other colors in it, and that's the final color. I actually like that one for a dusty blue. So those two are pretty good. This one is orange. This is Americolor orange. And like I said, orange is opposite blue on the color wheel. So when you mix the two, you should get something close to brown, beige, taupe, whatever you want to call it. It's basically mixing all of the colors together because orange is made of yellow and red, and that yellow, red, and blue are the 3 primary colors. And when you mix them all together, it's going to really brown it down. And you might not get exactly what you think, but I decided to try it. because I figured that the brown has the red and the orange, or the red and the yellow in it anyway. So and see how I'm getting the streaks. You really have to make sure that you are coloring, that you're mixing all the color in as you do this, because if you don't, you're going to go to ice your cake or pipe your flowers or whatever you're doing, and a little streak of the bright color is going to come out. So make sure that as you're mixing this, you're giving it time to mix in everything, and scrape the spatula, because it's gonna mix up. So I'm adding a little bit more, and this is too much. Okay, I could have stopped because that's an okay color, but it's still kind of bright and a little bit green. And I was looking at the other two and thinking, well, it's still too bright to really be called a dusty blue. So I said, I'll just add some more orange. And I put too much in. Okay, and this is what happens when you put too much in. This is why I did not edit this out, because you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. But just make sure that you incorporate all the food coloring. If you do realize halfway through that you've put too much in there, it's okay. You can fix it, because remember, you still have some extra icing. And this is why you should make more icing than you think you need, because something might happen where you end up needing more, and you probably are not going to be able to mix more icing to get it the exact color as the ones that you've mixed already. And that's just how it goes. So you see how this is really turning it's very green, which is interesting to me, except that orange has yellow and red. So this particular orange probably had more yellow than red in it, and it mixes with the blue to make green, because blue and yellow make green. So this is a very green color. It's not what I'm looking for. So I'm going to take a little bit out of the container and put it in another container. And then I'm going to mix some more of the original blue in to tone it down. So I've taken icing out. And you can do this if you get a color that's too dark or it's off, just use that mixed icing to make the color that you want. If it's close enough that you're going to be able to get it if you mix it in, don't start over with more food coloring. Use the colored icing, because a lot of times that will give you a better result when you can see what it looks like in the icing, as opposed to just in the food coloring bottle or tube or whatever you're using. You can't really get a good idea of what it's going to look like in the icing. But if you use the icing, and I could have put probably, if I put more blue in this and a little less of the greenish color, it probably would have been better. But look, that's okay. This is an okay. I would not call this dusty blue, maybe, but compared to the other two, it's very green. And this looks, it's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, but those are the three colors that I ended up with. And I decided just to, I'm looking at the colors that I started out with. See that one on the bottom is pretty close to that one. So that's a pretty good one. So if I wanted it to be dark like that, that's good. And then this one at the top is very close to this one, so that works. But this other one over here is just a little too green for me, and I decided just to push it aside. I'm not going to use that, but it would be a good color to add to leaves. So if you have green to do blue flowers, put a little bit of the green in your leaves, and it makes it look more realistic. That's a little extra tip.